Presidential race is taking shape, and the presidential primaries, well, they're in full swing. President Joe Biden is the overwhelming frontrunner for the Democratic nomination, while former President Donald Trump remains the clear frontrunner for Republicans. But as these two political rivals look to set a rematch for the White House, U.S. President Biden's top campaign aide claims that Joe Biden has no plans to make former President Trump's criminal indictments, who faces 4 sets of criminal charges, a focal point of his 2024 re-election campaign. The statement came after Donald Trump was booked in an Atlanta jail on Thursday on more than a dozen felony charges as part of a criminal case arising from the former U.S. president's attempts to overturn his 2020 election defeat in the state of Georgia. Donald Trump, who spent about 20 minutes at the Fulton County Jail, where his mugshot was also taken, repeated his assertion that the prosecution, along with others he faced, is politically motivated. Joe Biden has so far, for the most part, remained quiet. Donald Trump has been charged with 91 felony counts and 4 indictments this year alone related to paying hush money to a porn star attempting to overturn the 2020 elections, and all lawfully keeping classified documents. Despite all of the legal troubles, in most opinion polls, Donald Trump holds a nearly 40-point lead against his rivals for the Republican nomination to challenge Joe Biden, the Democrat who defeated him in 2020. Meanwhile, in another poll, there is one thing Democrats and Republicans agree on. Majority in both parties think that Joe Biden is too old to be president. The Associated Press Newark Center for Public Affairs Research finds that 77% of Americans, including 89% of Republicans and 69% of Democrats, think that Biden is too old to effectively serve another term.
That number for Biden stands in stark contrast to his most likely rival for the 2024 presidential race, former President Donald Trump. Trump is nearly as old as Biden is, but only about half of Americans say that Trump is too old for another term, compared with about 8 in 10 who say the same about Biden overall.
So as you heard, views of Biden's age stand in stark contrast with former President Donald Trump, who is only a few years younger than Biden. And despite that, only 51% of Americans think that Donald Trump is too old to serve another term. All right, for more on this, we are being joined by political analyst Dr. Christina Iona Dragmir from New York. Christina, thank you so much for joining us on WION. Welcome back. Well, here's the thing. This is a statement made by Biden's aide on a Sunday show. But as Donald Trump was traveling to the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta on Thursday night to surrender, Biden posted a link to donate to his campaign on X, formerly Twitter. Apropos of nothing, I think today's a great day to give to my campaign. That was a quote, and he wrote in that post. So what do you make of these comments by his aide? Can he really escape not talking about Donald Trump and his indictments?
Hi, Susan. Great being back here. Thank you for having me. I think that the Biden campaign is trying to run on a very, very tight rope to bring awareness to the Trump administration, but at the same time, for the former Trump administration's act that led to the indictments that we have recently seen. But at the same time as they are doing this, they are trying to distinguish themselves from it. And this is the reason why. On the side of Trump, we see that one of the main lines that are used is that this indictments are politically motivated. If the Biden side of the campaign will lean too much into this, it will look like the Trump side of campaign is actually correct, and they are the ones who are going to be winning, because this is going to look like it's politically motivated and not motivated by the rule of law, by the democratic processes, and so on and so forth. So it's quite normal for the Biden campaign and for Richmond to actually say that they will not be focusing on Trump's side of the campaign. On the contrary, what they are trying to do, they are trying to unify the Democrats and hopefully reach out to the independents. Remember that for an incumbent, which is the president who holds office right now, which is Biden, he has it a little bit easier than the other people because what he has to do is basically just reach out to everybody within the United States. On the contrary, on the other side of the political spectrum, the Republicans have something else to do, and that is to win the primary. And everybody knows that in the primary, the candidates are actually going to more extremes, not looking to reach out to the middle ground of America, but quite the contrary, to reach out to their base in order to make sure that they secure the nomination. So what we see right now on the Republican side is a run to the extreme right. We're going to see this coming more and more in the months to come. Well, at the same time, it becomes quite obvious that President Biden's strategy is to reach in the middle, to reach for the middle ground, and to include in his campaign as many as possible. What I think is going to be very important for his campaign is to reach out to the people that typically would vote for Donald Trump, the people who have felt that the economy is not working for them, the people who are suffering, the people who have been going through a very hard time during COVID time and so on. And this is going to be, I think, the biggest challenge for President Biden. And that might mean actually include some of the progressive elements that they are actually quite aware of that might not be a really good strategy for right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, especially with a populist group and in the Republican Party. Basically, I want to move on to this poll that most Americans think that Joe Biden is too old to run. So far, first of all, we're running almost out of time. In early September, I believe, the first state, early voting states to register is coming up. But there is Dean Phillips. He's a representative from Minnesota. He's a Democrat. He's the only one who has basically come out from the Democrat Party and said that he's willing to openly challenge Joe Biden. Can you talk about that and whether or not you see Joe Biden going through with being the Democrats' nominee?
His age has been a topic of discussion since the first time that he was running for elections. I think it's quite interesting how Biden's age comes up as a topic of conversation, but not on the other side for former President Trump. They are not that much far apart if you look at their age. However, the criticism comes much more often on Biden's side. I think that voters within the United States are right to be worried because about the age of the candidates on both sides of the Republican and Democratic Party. And that because I think that the voters know that this is a sign of a problematic process of nomination for the highest seat in the government of the United States. What we are looking at is a system where it's very difficult to challenge the people who already have been in power for a very long time. That's why I think that the Republican side with Vivek Ramaswamy have been gaining a lot of track, at least in the media and so on, because we see a challenger that has a very different age, very different reach to the people that he's hoping to have as a voter. Yeah. And we could see this on the part of the Democrats as well. But I think that we are looking at a very stagnant system that is really difficult to change. But the voters, especially new generation of voters, need to really interrogate this and really think through if this kind of system is working for them or if certain changes really need to happen for themselves to be represented within the U.S. government and especially in the presidency.
Yeah, that's very true. And what they're going to do going in those voting polls, and even if they are going to go vote or not. Dr. Christina Iona Dragomir, thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you very much, Susan. My pleasure.